Have you ever felt like the world is sort of like designed for people who can't stand to be quiet for even a second? Like they always got to be surrounded by tons of people.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like it's just nonstop noise and a crazy packed social calendar.
Right.
Well, today we're going to like dive deep into a totally different perspective.
Yep.
The world of introversion.
That was good.
We're going to be exploring Laurie Helgoe's book, Introvert Power. And we'll be pulling in some other ideas, too, to really unpack what makes introverts, well, tick.
It's interesting to think that we could be, like, missing out on a huge chunk of the population.
Right.
Just because their strengths aren't always the loudest in the room.
Exactly. And, like, we're going to tackle some of those, like, common misconceptions about introversion
Yeah.
head on. You know, like how people say that introverts are antisocial?
Right.
Helgoe says that's completely wrong. What do you think about that?
Well, it's not like they don't like being around people.
Right.
It's more like introverts are really careful about how they use their social energy.
I see.
They would rather have a few really deep connections than be surrounded by a ton of people they don't know well.
Yeah.
And actually, that plays a big part in how introverts approach therapy.
I didn't realize that was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
So tell me more about that connection.
Well, so introverts are often drawn to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not because they have more mental health issues.
Right.
Which is a total myth, by the way.
Okay.
But it's because they're already used to exploring their inner world.
I see.
And that self-reflection is a huge plus in therapy.
Oh, so it's like they're already ahead of the game in a way.
Exactly.
Yeah. It reminds me of this anecdote Helgoe shares about this attractive introvert who, like, downplayed how she looked. Turns out it wasn't, like, about low self-esteem or anything. It was more about not wanting a lot of attention.
Yeah, well.
And it seems like introverts often downplay their personalities, too.
That's a really good point. Introverts are often underestimated because they don't feel this need to constantly, like, show off their strengths.
Right.
But when you get to know them better, you find this incredible richness and depth.
It makes you wonder if our society, with all its focus on outward achievements, ends up like making introversion seem like a problem. We're so obsessed with always being on all the time that we completely forget about the value of like introspection and quiet contemplation.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And all of you can make introverts feel really alienated.
Right.
Helgoe talks about two main types of introverts, shadow dwellers
Okay.
and accessible introverts.
Interesting. Have you met any of these types?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I definitely have some friends who are shadow dwellers. They like create these little worlds for themselves through hobbies or online stuff.
Right.
They really thrive in those spaces where their introversion is not only accepted, but like celebrated.
Exactly. Shadow dwellers are kind of like making their own little introverses.
Oh, I like that.
Places where their energy can flow freely.
I see.
And then there are accessible introverts.
Right.
And they're way harder to spot.
Okay.
They blend in and they look extroverted.
Right.
But they pay a price for that.
How so?
All that adapting is exhausting.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's like they're speaking a language they don't really know.
Right.
They can communicate.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot out of them.
Right.
Helgoe even talks about feeling too accessible herself.
Interesting.
And having to set boundaries to protect her energy.
Yeah.
And that's where things get tricky.
Okay.
Society sends these subtle messages like introverts are wrong for wanting to be alone. Think about it.
Yeah.
All those weird looks when you say no to an invitation.
Right.
Or the lack of quiet spaces in offices.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's almost like we're pushing them to change without realizing it.
Yeah, it's true.
We always want people to be more outgoing and more connected.
Right.
But what if that's not what everyone needs? You know how people say that about 1/3 of the population is introverted? Well, it turns out that number is way off.
Oh, really?
Helgoe looked into the research and found that introverts are actually the majority.
Wait, seriously?
Yep.
So introverts are being told they're the minority when they're actually the majority.
Exactly.
That totally changes things.
Really does.
Yeah.
And it explains why so many introverts feel this pressure to change. Imagine feeling like you're the only one when in reality you're part of the bigger group.
Wow. Yeah.
This misconception has real-world effects.
Yeah, for sure. It reminds me of that story Helgoe tells about a psychology conference in Britain, and the American attendees had trouble figuring out who the extroverts were.
Oh, wow.
Because they didn't fit the stereotype of an American extrovert.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. It's like even the introverts have absorbed this idea that they're the minority.
It shows how ingrained that assumption really is.
Yeah.
And if we keep believing it,
Right.
we're going to miss out on all the cool things introverts bring to the table. Imagine all the ideas and innovations that never happen.
Yeah.
Just because we haven't made space for those quieter voices.
It's like we're starting with the wrong idea.
Yeah.
What could we achieve if we embraced introversion?
That's a great question.
That instead of trying to squeeze everyone into this extrovert mold,
Right.
it makes you think.
It really does. And it leads us to another interesting thing. Those places where introverts do thrive.
Okay.
Have you noticed how some places just seem to attract introverts?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like libraries, art museums, even some coffee shops.
Those are all great examples.
Yeah.
Helgoe actually spent a lot of time talking about these introvert havens
Right.
and what makes them so appealing. And what's cool is that these places often exist right in the middle of busy cities,
Yeah.
offering this quiet escape from all the demands of social interaction.
I see.
Speaking of escaping, Helgoe takes us on this trip to two cultures
Okay.
that surprisingly value introversion.
Really?
The Nordic countries
Interesting.
and Japan.
Oh, wow. That's so
I
unexpected.
know, right?
Yeah.
We usually think of these cultures as like reserved
Right.
or even distant, but they actually have a lot of things that introverts love.
Okay. Like what?
Well, take the Nordic countries, for example. They really value privacy, personal space, and like a less is more kind of vibe.
Okay.
It's a world where bragging is frowned upon.
Interesting.
And just chilling and thinking is considered a good thing.
Yeah.
And get this.
Yeah.
These countries are consistently ranked as some of the happiest in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
That really makes you think about what it means to be happy.
Right.
Maybe constant social interaction isn't the key.
Maybe not.
Perhaps it's more about being content with yourself
Right. Yeah.
and having the space to do what you love.
Exactly.
Then there's Japan
Mm-hmm.
with their emphasis on silence, restraint, and harmony.
Yeah.
I was really struck by this anecdote Helgoe shares about this person from the West
Okay.
who felt totally fine letting his 10-year-old daughter navigate Tokyo's crazy train system
Wow.
with a friend.
That's wild.
I know.
Yeah.
It says a lot about the level of safety
Mhm.
and respect for personal space in that culture.
It's a reminder that those introverted values can create a really peaceful and functional society.
Yeah.
It's about finding strength in being quiet and realizing that sometimes less is truly more.
It's amazing to see how these cultures have woven introverted values into like their everyday lives.
Right.
What can we learn from them?
Good question.
How can we create more spaces like that in our own lives and communities?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
And it's something we'll keep exploring as we get deeper into Helgoe's Introvert Power.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Me too.
Mm.
It's almost like they figured out how to build introversion.
Right.
A place where introversion is not just okay, but actually like really valued.
And that actually brings us to a really cool part of the book.
Yeah.
It's called The Introvert's Wish List.
Okay.
And it's not about like demanding special treatment or anything.
Right.
It's more about like recognizing the basic things that introverts need to really thrive.
I see.
What do you think she means by a room of one's own?
Yeah. What is that all about?
Well, it's not just about having a physical room, right?
Right.
It's more about having a sanctuary,
Okay.
a place where you can get away from the world and just be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, it's my little reading nook.
Oh, nice.
I can just curl up with a good book and I totally lose track of time.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so relaxing.
It's like having a spot to recharge
Right.
and connect with your inner world.
Yeah. And what's cool is that Helgoe actually encourages us to design the space on purpose.
Really?
Yeah, she even has this exercise for creating your perfect introvert room.
That's so cool.
Well, I know, right?
Yeah.
It's like she's saying, don't just settle for whatever space you have.
Right.
Make it your own.
Mm-hmm.
Make a space that really shows who you are.
I like that.
And it doesn't have to be fancy or anything. It could just be a cozy corner with good lighting and some of your favorite things.
It's about making a space that feels like a part of you.
Yeah, and you know, that doesn't just have to be inside your house.
Oh, really?
Helgoe also talks about finding your outdoor room.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
What would your outdoor room be?
That's a tough one.
I know, right?
Well, I'm a big fan of hiking,
Yeah, me too.
so I think mine would have to be like a secluded trail.
Oh, that's nice.
Somewhere quiet where I could just be surrounded by nature.
Yeah, nature is so restorative.
It really is. especially for introverts.
Make a reset button for your soul.
You know, that reminds me of that quote by Henry David Thoreau.
Which one?
I never found the companion that was so companionable as solitude.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's so true.
There's just something about being alone that can be so powerful.
Right.
Like, it can really spark creativity.
Totally. But here's the thing. Even when you have a place to be alone, it's hard to actually find the time to be alone.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Especially with how connected we are all the time these days.
It's like we're always on.
Right.
And that can be really draining.
Especially for introverts.
Yeah. Helgoe talks about this, too. It's another big thing on the introverts wish list.
Oh, yeah?
Time to think.
Makes sense.
It's like we're so bombarded with information and deadlines that we never let ourselves just think.
And that could be exhausting.
For sure. And Helga doesn't just say, make more time for yourself.
Okay.
She gives us actual strategies for, like, expanding our time.
Oh, cool. Like what?
Well, one thing she talks about is shifting from a mindset of taking time to giving time.
I don't think I follow.
So instead of saying, like, I need to take an hour to myself,
Right.
you say, I'm going to give myself an hour to read.
Okay.
Or I'm going to give myself an hour to just be in nature.
I see.
It feels less like a chore.
Right.
And more like a gift.
Yeah. That's a good way to think about it.
And she also gives us some practical tips, like working at odd hours to avoid distractions.
Okay.
Scheduling regular breaks for being alone, and just saying no to things that drain your energy.
Oh, yeah. That's a hard one.
It is.
But it's so important.
It's all about setting boundaries.
Right.
And respecting your need for downtime.
Absolutely. There's this one idea she talks about
Yeah.
that I think is so relevant for introverts.
What's that?
The birthing model of productivity.
Oh, yeah. I love that one.
It's perfect for a world that's obsessed with speed.
Right.
Can you remind me what she means by that?
Well, it's like this. Instead of forcing ourselves to come up with ideas on a deadline,
Right.
Helga says we should tap into our natural rhythm of creativity.
I see.
It's about trusting that the ideas will come when they're ready.
Okay.
Just like a baby is born when it's fully developed.
That's such a good metaphor.
Right.
It reminds us that sometimes the best ideas come from slowing down and giving ourselves space to really think.
It's not about being lazy.
Right.
It's about respecting the creative process.
Absolutely. And sometimes that means taking a break from everything.
Yeah. Which brings us to another big one on the wish list.
What's that?
The right to retreat.
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah. Have you ever felt like you just need to disconnect
Oh, yeah, totally.
and recharge?
Like all the time.
Me too.
For me, it's those solo hikes.
Nice.
Being out in nature, away from everything, it helps me reconnect with myself.
Yeah, and come back feeling refreshed.
Exactly. Helgoe actually describes retreats as a reset button for introverts.
Okay.
It's a chance to step away from all the demands of life and like reconnect with your inner compass.
It's like hitting the refresh button on your brain.
She even shares a story about her own experience on a solo retreat.
Oh, wow.
And she talks about this feeling of freedom and renewal.
I love that.
Like she finally tapped into all this creativity that was buried under the stress of everyday life.
And what I really like is that she talks about all the excuses we make for not taking retreats.
Oh, yeah, like what?
You know, I don't have time, or I can't afford it.
Yeah.
But she says we need to make our well-being a priority. And that taking time for ourselves isn't selfish.
Right.
It's actually essential.
For our mental and emotional health.
Yeah, and even our physical health.
It's about investing in yourself.
Right.
And that investment pays off in so many ways.
And she gives some really practical ideas for creating retreats.
Oh, cool.
Even if you can't get away for a long time.
Like what?
Well, you could spend a day in nature.
Okay.
You could create a retreat-like experience at home, or even just carve out a few hours of uninterrupted time.
Like that.
It's about getting creative and finding ways to bring those retreat principles into your everyday life.
But it's not just about going away.
Right.
It's about finding ways to incorporate that feeling of retreat into your daily routine.
Exactly. And remember, retreating doesn't mean ignoring your responsibilities.
Right. It's about managing those responsibilities while also making time for yourself.
So it's about finding a balance.
Yeah. Maybe that means delegating tasks,
Okay.
prepping meals ahead of time, or just being upfront with the people you care about your needs.
Communication is key.
Always. It's about finding that balance between being in the world
Right.
and taking care of your inner self.
I love that Helgoe encourages us to think big when it comes to retreats.
Me too.
Like, what would your dream retreat look like?
No limits.
Okay, so no limits. I think mine would be a trip to Japan.
Oh, nice.
I'd love to experience their culture of quiet and respect.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, and just immerse myself in nature.
It's like giving yourself permission to completely disconnect.
Exactly. And it's interesting how that desire for quiet observation seems to be a theme for introverts.
It really does.
Yeah, it's another big thing on the wish list.
What is it?
The freedom to observe.
Okay.
Introverts often have this amazing ability to see the world with so much detail.
Right. They notice things that other people miss.
It's like they're always taking in information
Yeah.
and processing it in their own way.
Helgoe encourages introverts to really embrace those observation skills.
I like that.
Whether it's through photography,
Mm-hmm.
journaling, sketching,
Yeah.
or just taking the time to really see the world around them.
It's about recognizing that observation isn't passive. It's a
Right.
powerful way to understand things, to
Yeah.
learn and to create.
It's like they're constantly collecting these little insights and inspiration from the world around them.
And, Helgoe also talks about finding activities that balance observation with action.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's about finding ways to express those observations,
Right.
to bring them to life in a way that feels authentic.
Exactly. Like an introvert who loves gardening
Okay.
might find joy in both the quiet watching of plants growing
Right.
and the actual act of taking care of them.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, it's about finding that sweet spot.
Where your inner and outer worlds can meet and make something beautiful.
I love that.
And I love her suggestion of bringing observation into our daily routines.
Oh, how do you do that?
Well, you could try taking a different route to work
Okay.
and noticing the little things you see
Mhm.
or really listening to a piece of music.
Yeah.
It's about being mindful
Right.
and appreciating the beauty around us.
Even in the everyday moment.
Exactly. It's about slowing down and really experiencing things.
Instead of just rushing through life.
And that same idea applies to communication.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one for introverts.
For sure. It's the right to express themselves in their own way.
In a world that loves quick thinking and witty comebacks,
Right.
introverts can feel pressured to communicate
Mm-hmm.
in a way that doesn't feel natural.
It's important to remember that introverts often process things internally before they express them out loud.
Yeah, they might need time to think,
Right.
to figure out their thoughts,
Yeah.
to find the right words.
Rushing them or putting them on the spot can actually make it harder for them to communicate.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
It's like
like-
they're composing a symphony in their head,
Right.
and we're asking them to just play one note.
Exactly.
It's no wonder they feel misunderstood.
Helgoe encourages introverts to find ways to express themselves that feel comfortable,
Okay.
whether it's writing, journaling,
Okay.
making art,
Yeah,
or just having one-on-one conversations where they feel safe to share.
I like that.
And what I appreciate is that she doesn't say introverts should just be more extroverted.
Right.
She says embrace your own way of communicating.
It's okay to pause before you speak,
Yeah.
to think before you respond, and to choose your words carefully.
It's about recognizing that communication isn't just about speed.
Right.
It's about being clear,
Mm-hmm.
intentional,
Yeah.
and making a connection.
And introverts can be amazing communicators
Yeah.
when they have the space and time to express themselves.
Speaking of connection,
Yeah.
let's talk about intimacy.
Okay.
There's this idea that introverts are loners
Right.
who don't need or want close relationships.
Yeah.
But that's so not true.
I know, right?
Introverts crave intimacy just like anyone else.
Totally.
They just might experience and express it differently.
Helgoe says that for introverts,
Yeah.
intimacy is more about a deep connection
Right.
and really understanding each other.
Instead of constantly being around each other.
They might prefer one-on-one time,
Yeah.
meaningful gestures,
Mm-hmm.
and doing things together that make them feel close.
It's about quality over quantity.
Exactly. And, it's important for introverts to be aware of their energy levels in relationships,
Okay.
finding partners and friends who respect their need to be alone
Right.
and who want to do things that feel good and fulfilling.
That's so important. It's about finding people who get you,
Yeah.
who understand that when you need some time alone,
Mm-hmm.
it's not about rejecting them.
Right.
It's about taking care of yourself. Yeah.
So you could be fully present in the relationship.
Exactly. And it's also important for introverts to actively create intimacy in their relationships.
Oh, how do they do that?
Well, they could start meaningful conversations,
Okay.
express appreciation,
Yeah.
or plan activities that bring them closer.
That makes sense.
It's about realizing that intimacy takes effort,
Right.
even in the best relationships.
And it's not just about romantic relationships either.
Right.
It's about having those deep connections with Friends,
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
and even people you work with.
People who share your values.
Exactly. It's about building a support system of people who understand and appreciate you.
That brings us to the last part of Helgoe's book,
Okay.
where she challenges us to not just accept our introversion, but to celebrate it.
Oh, love that.
She says that introversion isn't a weakness.
Right.
It's a source of strength and power
Okay.
that can actually benefit everyone.
That's a big shift in perspective.
It is.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that those qualities we usually associate with introversion. It's like deep thinking, empathy, creativity, and the ability to focus.
Right.
Those are actually essential for solving problems, building relationships, and creating a better world.
She wants introverts to let go of any shame they might feel about being introverted. It's okay to be quiet, to think before you speak, to prefer being alone sometimes, and to find joy in your own company.
It's about reclaiming the power of introversion and realizing it's not something to hide.
It's something to celebrate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she also wants us to think about how we can create a society that's more inclusive of introverts.
I like that. What do you think that would look like?
Well, I think it would involve workplaces that value deep work and quiet concentration. Educational systems that encourage thinking for yourself and just being more aware of the needs of introverts in our everyday interactions.
It's about recognizing that a society that only values extroverts is missing out on so much.
To really bring this idea to life, Helgoe asks us to imagine an introvert utopia.
Oh, wow.
Or introversia.
What would that world look like to you?
That's fun to think about.
Right.
I think introversia would have tons of quiet spaces.
Okay.
Where deep thinking is more important than small talk.
Yeah.
And where people can be themselves without feeling like they have to act extroverted.
Helgoe even suggests some things that might be an introversia.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, she talks about lots of green spaces.
Okay.
For quiet reflection and connecting with nature. Workspaces designed for deep work with minimal distractions, and educational systems that encourage independent thinking and self-directed learning.
It's like she's giving us a blueprint for a world that's made for introverts.
I love that. And her idea of social gatherings in introversia is so cool.
What's that?
They'd be less about small talk.
Right.
And more about meaningful conversations, shared interests, and genuine connections.
It's a world where people can be themselves without feeling like they have to perform.
Exactly.
A world where quiet strength is celebrated.
Yeah.
And everyone has the space to thrive.
This sounds pretty amazing.
It does. But here's the thing.
What's that?
We don't have to wait for introversia to just appear.
Right.
We can start creating those spaces and experiences now.
In our own lives and communities.
Exactly. And that brings us to Helgoe's final challenge.
Okay.
To step outside our comfort zones. And find ways to express our introversion in the world.
What do you think she means by that?
Well, it's not about forcing ourselves to be extroverts.
Right.
It's about realizing that being an introvert doesn't mean you can't be active and make a difference.
It's about recognizing that our voices matter.
Yeah.
And that the world needs to hear what we have to say.
It's about owning our introversion and using it as a source of strength.
I love that. This deep dive has been so eye-opening.
It really has.
It's like we've discovered this whole hidden world of introversion.
With its own strengths, challenges, and possibilities.
It's like we have a new way of seeing ourselves in the world.
Yeah, and it makes you realize that introversion isn't just a personality trait.
Right.
It's a way of being in the world.
That deserves to be celebrated.
Absolutely.
I feel like someone just told us it's okay to be ourselves.
Yeah.
You know?
I know exactly what you mean.
It's not just permission, though.
Right.
It's like she gave us all the tools we need
to
actually thrive in a world that doesn't always get us.
Totally. It's like she gave us this map to introversia.
Right.
And said, here's how to get there.
I love that.
Both inside and out.
But we're not quite in introversia yet. So how do we deal with that?
Well, she gives us some really practical tips.
Okay.
For handling a world that's still pretty focused on extroverts.
Like what?
One of the biggest ones is to become a pro at what she calls selective engagement.
What's that?
It's about being picky about your social interactions. You don't have to say yes to everything.
Right.
Or feel like you have to be part of every conversation. It's about saving your energy for the things that really matter to you.
I like that. It's like you get to choose your own social adventure.
Exactly. You decide what you let in.
Yeah.
And what you keep out.
It's really empowering when you think about it.
It is.
There's so much pressure to be on all the time.
Totally. And she also talks about being mindful of your online interactions.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Just like in real life.
Right.
It's important to set boundaries online, too.
To protect your energy.
Exactly. It's easy to get lost in that online world.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That constant scrolling and posting.
It's endless.
But for introverts, it's really important to make those digital safe spaces.
Okay.
Those online spots where they can connect with people like them.
In a way that feels good for them.
Exactly. It's all about balance.
Right.
Staying informed and connected.
Yeah.
But also making time for yourself.
To just be.
And another thing that really stuck with me is her advice about owning your communication style.
Oh, yeah, that's so important.
It is. In a world that values quick thinking and witty banter, introverts can feel like they're always behind.
I know that feeling.
But it's okay to pause before you speak.
Yeah.
To think things through.
Right.
And to choose your words carefully.
Communication isn't a race.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about getting your message across.
Clearly and honestly.
And sometimes that means taking a moment to think.
Right.
To really figure out what you want to say.
And that thoughtfulness can be so powerful.
It can.
Yeah.
It brings a different energy to conversations.
It does.
It's like you're asking people to slow down and really listen.
To go deeper.
And, that leads us to her last point.
Okay.
It's about being your own advocate.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking up for yourself and what you need.
That can be hard.
It can, but it's so important.
To set boundaries when you're feeling drained.
And to create spaces that support you.
It's about knowing that your needs are important and that you deserve to be respected and understood.
By yourself and others.
This deep dive has been a real journey.
It really has.
It's like we've discovered this whole secret world.
The world of introversion.
With its own special powers and challenges.
And so many possibilities.
It's like we have this new way of looking at things.
At ourselves and the world.
And it makes you realize that being an introvert isn't just a personality thing. It's a whole way of being.
That's worth celebrating.
This has been amazing.
It really has.
Yeah.
So as you go back out there, remember to take care of yourself. Embrace your quiet strength.
Okay.
And find ways to share your unique gifts.
The world needs them.
It does. And remember, introversion isn't just a dream.
Right.
It's possible.
It starts with us.
Creating those spaces in our own lives.
And then bringing other people in.
To this quiet revolution.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
It's my pleasure.
Until next time, everyone.
Yeah.
Embrace your quiet power.